Okay. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Hello.
Thank you for joining this Q&A conversation experiment, diving into this new, or maybe for some not so new, territory of Gremlin. It is so outside of modern culture to dive into this territory, because modern culture, the culture that probably most of us were born and raised in, do not have the distinction Gremlin. And the result of this is that modern culture is therefore a Gremlin centered culture. Because it does not have the distinction, then the Gremlin can take over, because modern culture does not have a way to tell him to sit or tell him to distinguish between I and my Gremlin. I just want to, the way I would like to do this is I would like to speak for a while into let's say to speak a bit about the distinction Gremlin, and then to let you guys ask me your question. And your question will be the most valuable for you and for the group if they are a vulnerable question. Okay, this is not about general, how does Gremlin work? Okay, the question that will be the most useful for you will be, I don't know how this works. I cannot feel my Gremlin, or I feel it and it does that. How does it, how can you give me something to help me? Can you give me distinction or experiment to help me? That would be the most valuable questions. And so I want to invite you to let your Gremlin also have question. To let that part that we're going to talk about, you can let it be in this space, because it has not had space to speak or to be heard or to be seen. It's what Sarka was saying in the beginning, that now she has a new relationship. Okay, she can she can see it more, she can hear it more. Okay, but what I would like you is, if your Gremlin would like to say something, is that you use a distinction, saying, my Gremlin would like to ask this question, or my Gremlin would like to say this. And so then you can start making this distinction between you and your Gremlin, and then the space, and I know, and everybody else knows who's speaking. Okay. So those are big distinction, that when we say I, most often we don't know who's speaking. When you say, I don't want to do this, or I love this, or I don't like this, or I hate you, or whatever the I that's speaking, most often we don't know which I, because we have parts. There's a website that's been built at the moment that's called parts.mystrikingly.com, and we've listed already about 50 different parts that we all have inside of us. And this is such a great practice to notice which part is speaking and what is the purpose of that part. And without making the distinction between those parts, most of your life will be unconscious. Your action, your gestures, your relationship, your interaction comes from an unconscious place where you don't know which part is speaking, and you don't know what the purpose is. And then you get a result and you just wonder, how come this happened? How come do I have that kind of result in my life? How come I hurt the people I love? How come I don't have the relationship I wish? How come I don't have the job that I want? So then you get results that you didn't wish for, but maybe other parts of you wish for. I want to say a couple of things about this next 2 hours. Is in possibility management, we work with distinctions. Okay, distinctions are not ideas, and they're not opinions. Distinction are maps. They're inner maps. They're energetic maps for energetic or inner territory. So it's very easy to confuse the map with the territory. To say the distinction is the territory. It is not. The territory is the territory, and the map is what helps you navigate that territory. So for example, if you look, and this is more physical, but if you look at a map of the world and you look at France, for example, and you say, this is France, it is not. You're not in France. Being in France is moving into the mountains and rivers and lakes of France. That's the territory. If you walk on the land of France, you're in France. When you look at a map of France, you're looking at a map of France. It can help you decide, I'm going to go to Paris or I'm going to go to Marseille. That's what the map is for. So I'm recording this talk, and I'll be publishing it and sharing it. And maybe you have contact with other trainers or other possibility managers that might give you other distinction or present the territory in a slightly different way. So what I want to say is, this is not gospel. What I'm going to say, or maybe what other people could answer to your questions are not this is not gospel. This is not possibility management right answer. What I'm giving you is the map, a part of the map, some tools in the map. And what we can do here together is exploring the map and maybe starting to explore the territory. But I can provide you with some maps, with some compasses, but I cannot explore the territory for you. This territory of Gremlin is an experience. It is not a concept. I think maybe some of you heard Sarka said it in the beginning, before she knew the distinction Gremlin, in her head, she had, there is a part of me that's called Gremlin. Okay, now I'm starting to experience it. I can see it. I can feel it. It has a particular sensation. And I don't have a lot of words. It is hard to explain it in English words, because English words, like the English language, is mostly intellectual and physical. Okay, so this is why in possibility management, we had to invent or redefine some English words to include all 5 bodies. So we work with 5 bodies. So intellectual, physical, emotional, energetic, and archetypal. And your Gremlin wears your 5 bodies. So the distinction Gremlin is a distinction that can be sensed in an intellectual level. So sometimes it takes over your thoughts and your ideas and your opinions and your assumptions. It can be felt at a physical level. It has a particular physical sensation that is sort of a gripping, tightening, and there's sort of this adrenaline attached to the physical distinction of Gremlin. It has an emotional part. So your Gremlin wears your emotion. Using emotions, we're making the distinction here between feelings and emotion in the emotional body. Feelings come out of your adult state, can come out of your being and also your archetypal lineage. In the emotional body, you can also have a sense of, you can also experience emotions, which feels the same as feeling. It's anger, sadness, fear, and joy. But those emotions last in your body more than 3 minutes. And then they take over you. And if you don't make this distinction between a feeling and an emotion, and we might talk about this a little more during this talk, when your Gremlin wears the emotion and use it as if it's real. For example, I feel betrayed, or I feel attacked, or I feel persecuted, or I feel underprivileged. Okay, those are quote unquote, we use the word feeling or I feel, but those are emotions. And actually they are mixed emotion. And those are used by your Gremlin to create low drama. And we'll go into that. more. Then your gremlin can wear your energetic body. And when it wears your energetic body, it uses the forces, your energy, to serve unconscious purposes. For example, your gremlin can be using your sexual energy to manipulate and to control and to own people and to possess others. Okay, that would be your gremlin using your energetic body, your sexual energy, to serve its survival unconscious purposes. That particular strategy is called white widow. When your gremlin uses your sexual energy to serve its unconscious purposes and survival purposes, it is a particular strategy that we've named white widow, so we could have a term for it. And also we'll talk about it a little more. And somehow it seems like, let's see, your gremlin can use your archetypal body to navigate to the underworld. The underworld is an archetypal domain. And you can navigate there and take everybody with you into this archetypal domain called the underworld. So for some of you who are just maybe starting to meet possibility management, it could be your first time in this space, or I might have said a lot of words that are not in your usual vocabulary. They're not in ordinary vocabulary. And we need those words to talk about things that modern culture do not know about and do not talk about. So I will do my best to explain them and explain what I mean. But if there's really something that you don't understand or it seems important for you, just interrupt me and ask me, okay? Okay, does anybody want to say anything or have any question right now?
Is the gremlin just another word for the unconscious part?
Yes.
For the shadow?
Yes. Well, let me explain that a little bit. Your gremlin, which can have, it can be a female, it can have a female energy or it can have a male energy. I'm gonna say he, but it's possible that your gremlin is female. Okay, I'm just gonna use he because it's just, most gremlin are masculine. Most gremlin are male. Okay. So your gremlin is your king is the king or queen of your underworld. Human beings, we travel and navigate 3 worlds. Okay, most of us knows about the middle world. So the middle world is, I need to pee. The middle world is, I need to take a shower. I need to feed myself. I need to have clothes. I walk down the street and go to the market. I meet with my family for a birthday. Or, okay, this is the middle world, which we're most accustomed to. And we think a lot of people think that that's the only world that we can live in, which is pretty ordinary and pretty flat and pretty like survival. I can walk through my life and survive through my life in the middle world. However, we have at any time, there's also access to the upper world. An upper world is our forces of nature serving conscious purposes. Forces of nature that are responsible. So those are bright principles, for example, like love, clarity, possibility, transformation, healing, teamwork, family with a capital F, community, empowerment, transformation, evolution. All of those are forces of nature that you can have access to because each and every one of you serves a set of 3, 4, 5 bright principles. You might have distilled them, you might have not distilled them, but whether or not you've distilled them, they are still active in your life. And it's a great It's a great process to distill your bright principles, because then you have a name about what you are in the upper world. So I would recommend, it's in the Conscious Feelings book and also in the website called brightprinciples.mystrikingly.com. I'll try to send an email with all the website that I'll talk about here. And you can go through this process. I would recommend to do it with a partner. It's great to do it with a partner, but you can do it in the privacy of your own home. Okay, so there's this access to this upper world that's possible. And then there's this whole access to the underworld. And the underworld or shadow world, those are both names for the same thing, is the territory of unconsciousness. It's the world of unconsciousness and irresponsibility. Your gremlin is the king or queen of that domain. It thrives on being irresponsible, on avoiding responsibility. It thrives on unconsciousness and knocking you or other people in the space unconscious, so that you would go in this dynamic called low drama. Low drama is a dynamic between people, or also it can happen inside of you, that has the purpose of avoiding responsibility. Maybe I want to mention something before we really go into this, is this is not the domain of right and wrong. Okay, we're not using the distinction right and wrong, like upper world is good and underworld is bad. The distinction, like the use of right and wrong, good and bad, is already a shadow principle. All of it is in the underworld, because it's a judgment. It is a judgment, as there's a standard, and who gives the standard? Most of, in modern culture, in countries, that standard has been given by the church. If you act in the particular way that we say, then you're virtuous and you'll go to heaven. And if you act in this particular way, you're a bad person, you're a sinner, and you will go to hell. So it is very deep inside of us, this, am I a good person or am I a bad person? Am I doing this right or am I doing this wrong? Is this positive or is this negative? Okay, so this is not the distinction. The distinction, gremlin, is not bad or wrong or negative. The distinction is neutral. However, it has consequences in your life. Consequences that maybe you want, or maybe you don't want. So it's useful to get to know which is the part that is the source of the consequences in your life. So I was saying the gremlin is the king or queen of your underworld, and your underworld thrives. Your gremlin feeds its main food. Okay, the gremlin is just like you. It needs food. Okay, you eat pineapple and vegetables and rice and water, and okay, this is what your physical body needs. Your gremlin needs energetic food. When the gremlin is unconscious and uninitiated, the main food it eats on is low drama, which is a dynamic that can happen between people or also inside of you. The dynamic of low drama is, it starts with a victim. And the victim is really sad. The victim uses unconscious sadness to play victim. And it's like, I'm not good enough. I didn't make it. Other people are better than me. Or nobody loves me. Life is horrible. I don't want to be here. This is where the gremlin starts. You can start sensing inside of you those victim stories. The victim, it has a particular energy and sensation of victim. And that's where the low drama starts. A good victim can make a persecutor out of anybody. I'm not happy because you did this. I'm not happy because you betrayed me, or you attacked me, or you abandoned me, or you stole my friend, you stole my boyfriend, you fired me, you whatever. So the victim needs a persecutor to be a victim. So it will look, so for the victim to actually to play full out, it will need to look out, the gremlin part will need to look out and say, who is actually persecuting me? Who can I find and prove to them that they are persecuting me? I'll prove it with very, very good evidence. Okay. So this is what the gremlin does. It starts by being a victim, let's say, and then it looks out, it will find evidence to make his story or her story true. And the universe is so filled with evidence that you can find any evidence to fulfill any story, to prove any story right. And
my
then
gremlin want to say this is so important that to understand that to be the victim is the start of the gremlin. It's really so important to understand it, and that's the possibility of a choice.
Thank you.
I need a distinction now.
Who's speaking?
It's
yeah.
me speaking. It's not my gremlin, but I do need a distinction. I mean, in life, it does happen that sometimes some unfortunate situations happen, or somebody's gremlin is acting in ways that impact you. So automatically, when you are impacted by somebody else's actions,
Emilia, would
how
you
do you
say,
call that if not a victim?
yeah, would you say it again in I? When I get,
Okay, if I am in a situation where somebody else's actions are impacting me directly, how do I call that situation? How do I navigate that situation without falling into the gremlin victim of it? I mean, how do you call that situation when somebody is impacted by somebody else's actions? How do I call it? Yeah.
so would you just hold this question, because I think it's a really important question, and other people, I ask other people who couldn't be here to ask me question, and then I could answer them in this talk. And one of the question is, how do I handle, like how do I behave or interact with other gremlin attacking me, like other gremlin coming at me?
Yeah, for example, let's say it didn't happen to me, but let's say tomorrow somebody just catches me in a moment and they rape me. I mean, it's obviously a situation where I'm a victim. But how do I navigate that situation without falling into the gremlin victim mode, let's say?
So when you say, in that situation, I'm obviously a victim, which I is speaking?
It's me, it's not my gremlin. I mean, any woman who is raped is a victim to somebody else's actions. It's like a logical situation where somebody is impacted negatively by somebody else's action.
Yeah, so thank you for saying that. And this, when you say it's obvious, so it's logic, like it's logical. It is like this. There's no way it cannot be like this. It is like this. And I just want to give you a story that I read as I was studying Buddhism, are the story of nuns in Tibet, who, when the Chinese invaded Tibet and went into nunneries and monasteries and raped and like tortured and raped the nuns. And the nuns' story was they were feeling sad for their rapist because they knew the karma that they were creating for themselves. And in that way, they didn't consider themselves victims, they considered that the rapist was building a negative karma that would come back, and they would have the consequences of those actions later. So I'm saying what you're saying is a particular story, and what they're saying is a particular story. And what you're saying is, if I'm raped, I'm a victim. And they're saying, if I'm raped, the rapist is creating bad karma for themselves. And I'm not a victim of that. I feel sad. I felt sorry.
I'm sorry,
Just wait, pause for a second, Emilia. I'm just saying, you can make any stories about anything and take any evidence to prove that story. And then when you say, I make up this story, which I makes this story? That's the distinction. Which is the I that would want to make this story, and what is the purpose, and what is my benefit for making that story?
I feel that the same situation can be looked from many perspectives, yes, but you know, both stories can be true. You know, I mean, if you are focusing on the person that acted in a way, and you're thinking about them, yes, you can think that, oh yeah, they created negative karma and whatever, you know. But when you think about yourself, I feel that it's a healthy sign of self-love to be able to manifest self-compassion for a situation where you obviously suffered through something.
So would you sit with that distinction? Would you sit with the possibility that different parts of you makes up different story and gather up different evidence to make up that story, and the story has a particular purpose?
No, it's really not a story. If I'm feeling pain in my body because I was raped, or because I don't know, something happened to me, you know, and my body like literally hurts, isn't that a situation where I should focus on myself and not on somebody else?
I don't have any shoulds. I do not work with shoulds or must or have to. Everybody do what they need to do. Everybody do what they do, actually. Here, the proposal is that there's some distinction. You can have more distinction that creates more clarity about what is the purpose of you saying that particular story.
Okay, give me a distinction between victim mode and self-compassion. Compassion for oneself, like love, like healthy love for oneself. You know, they say that you can't ever love somebody else if you don't learn to love yourself. You know, how do you show yourself love in a situation where you're going through something that's not pleasant?
So Emilia, I would like to maybe pause this conversation with you, because what you're bringing in is they say you cannot love other people if you don't love yourself. It is logical that this happens like this. So what it seems like you're bringing into the conversation does not actually come from you, does not come from your personal experiences or something that is born in you. It's born from something else outside that you believe is true. And I'm not in the business of destroying people's belief, because either you have to destroy your belief, or you have to destroy me. So if you want to have those beliefs, it's up to you. So Maren, you wanted to say something?
I don't want you to believe the same thing as me, but I just want to have some distinctions because it clashes in some way. And if I understand correctly, you don't share the same belief that one has to love oneself.
Emilia,
But it's a
perhaps
healthy thing, let's say. That
Emilia, I could understand the want that to make the difference. I myself, I was raped a lot of times, so I knew how to feel like a victim in this case. And the experiment with the gremlin makes myself to make this difference. That's a difference to be a victim for a moment. If you get raped, perhaps you are a victim in that moment. You have the feeling, you get punished, everything hurts. It's terrible. Nobody wants this to someone. Perhaps the bad person will do it. But if you stick, and I think that's the important thing, if you stick to this, to be a victim in this case, you couldn't come out. You have to fulfill the circle of feelings. So you have, if you stick to the feeling of a victim, you couldn't come out. So and because of that, that's the power of the gremlin. If he needs this term, you don't get you couldn't move in other possibilities to other possibilities.
I agree with you. I mean, I know, and I'm familiar with the situation where when people get stuck in the victim mode and they are, in order to feel good about oneself, you have to point the finger out on who's to blame. So I understand what this gremlin victimhood is about, but I need a distinction to understand when. I mean, there's a particular moment in life when one is justified to feel like a victim, and there's another moment when one gets stuck in the victim mode because of the gremlin, because of the unconscious need to feel good in comparison to somebody else.
So let me give you a distinction. You ask between self-compassion and being a victim.
Yes.
Being a victim has a particular purpose. When you say, I am a victim, it has the particular purpose of avoiding responsibility. That's what being a victim does. Having self-compassion or have compassion to oneself is being with oneself without stories. That's what I would use as a distinction or as a definition for compassion, which is also compassion for between me and somebody else. Is, can I have compassion for this person? Is, can I be with this person without any stories about where they are on the low drama triangle, for example? And that's I would use that as a definition for compassion. In the low drama triangle, we've talked about this. There's the victim that uses unconscious sadness. Then there's the persecutor that you probably already guessed has this using unconscious anger. You're not good. You should, you should do this. You shouldn't do this. I hate you. And like, get out of my way. And you, how does it? It's like, it's the persecutor. It's no and stop and I don't want to do this and get out of my way and God, cannot really access this persecutor gremlin part. But do you get an idea about where this unconscious anger, finding a victim and then you can persecute this victim? And then there's a third character in the slow drama triangle, which is called the rescuer. The rescuer looks for where there's a victim and then gonna go and find this victim and tell them everything is okay. Everything is all right. I'm going to take care of you. I'm going to do it for you. It's all going to be wonderful. Don't worry about it. And it's mostly, I'll do it for you. But how many people are professional rescuer? Okay. It's great to know that about yourself. It's great to know that about yourself, that being on the rescue, which is probably the hardest role, like the hardest character to have contact with or understand how it is part of the low drama triangle. Because the rescuer in this culture of modern culture is still the church, is the priest. I'm going to absolve you from your sins. I'm going to make it all better. And we're going to live in a beautiful world, and everything's going to be okay. And I will make it better for you. And so it could be more difficult to understand. Why is it part of a low drama, irresponsible dynamic? And
can I say something to that?
Yes. What did you say?
Yeah, go ahead, Tara.
I think when I realized that I am a professional rescuer, at first it was really hard for me to understand why that would be wrong, because it came from a place where I was like, oh, I'm helping you, I'm doing something good for you. And then I think it was in the Expand the Box, someone said that doing this, you do the same thing as the prosecutor. You make someone a victim. You take away the power of someone because you are doing it for them, and that's as much of a you're taking their power from them by doing it for them, and that's as much of a prosecution as as the prosecutor. Is just the same thing. And I realized, oh, that was the moment where I was like, okay, this is, it's not helping. It's not doing something good for someone. It is taking away their own power.
Yeah. Thank you. The low drama can happen, just like Tara explained, with somebody outside. Okay, somebody is doing something and they're playing the victim, or you might want them to be a victim so that you can rescue them, and then the rescuer would move, and then the victim would find the persecutor. Okay, this is the outer low drama. You can turn around and look inside and realize that you have a low drama going on also inside of yourself, with all three characters: victim, persecutor, rescuer. And it starts with, I hate myself. I hate myself. I'm not good enough. I have a really worse life than everybody else. I will never make it. I'm never going to be successful. I'm never going to have enough money. Why am I even here? How can even people look at me? And then inside you have this, okay, that's the victim. And the persecutor says, yeah, see, you did this wrong. And what about this? And when you said that, that was horrible. And see, again there, that you failed again. You failed, see? And then boom, okay, you've got victim, persecutor, and rescuer. And then it's like, no, but come on, it's not that bad. Look, but I also said this, and that was good. And what about 2 days ago? And I helped this person, and okay, but no, really, I'm so horrible, and I'm so bad, and nobody loves me, and okay, and on and on and on. Okay, the low drama happens inside, also inside. Okay, so low drama is not bad. It is not bad. It's just using huge amount of resources and energy and attention and your time and your life into this circle of victim, persecutor, rescuer, on and on in a loop, and nothing changes. Years pass, decades pass, your children's lives pass. The whole thing passes and nothing ever changes.
So is there an end to this internal drama triangle?
Yes, there is. God, otherwise what a depressing talk this would be. You are doomed for the rest of your life to stand on drama. Yeah, yes, and I want to say that to be somewhere else than where you are, you first have to be where you are. And so there's this part of, okay, and I think this also comes from the church of the underworld is so bad. Underworld is so bad. Sinning, you know, making sin is so immoral that a lot of us do not even want to look in that direction and see what really we're up to, what our gremlin is up to. And if we are not faced with our shadow world and our underworld and how deep and evil, really evil and violent and mean and twisted and manipulative and controlling our underworld is, you cannot get out of it. You do not have a chance. So having a mirror of saying, this doesn't exist, or I'm gonna forget about it and it's gonna go away and I'm gonna look into my bright side. From experience, it doesn't work. It just, because it comes out sideways, it leaks out. And then your gremlin will knock you unconscious and you will start hurting the people that you love and breaking relationship and being inauthentic and persecuting or playing the victim or rescuing. And then, you know, when your gremlin is fed from a big, heavy, fat, juicy, low drama, you'll wake up and be, how could I even do that? Like, what did I do? What did I do? Where did that come from? And then you say, oh, no. Let's forget about this question. I don't want to know. I don't want to know. And then, but because I'm a good person. And then sure enough, the next day, the next week, that thing will just happen again. So there's a value of looking into the underworld. There's really huge value, because the more you have clarity about your own underworld and about how evil and like which shadow principles do you serve, for example, resentment or revenge, manipulation, control, persecution, scarcity, competition. I want to be right. I want to be right is a shadow principle. I want to make somebody else's wrong. This is a particular feminine trait. It could be a particular feminine trait to want to make your partner wrong. Anybody ever experienced that? Wanting to make your partner wrong? Okay, this is just your gremlin. It is your gremlin. And it's, then you can choose. It's either I'm right, or either I'm in connection. Either I'm right, or either I'm in relationship. When your gremlin takes over you, when it's in the driving seat of your life, for example, you want to be right, or you want to make wrong, or you want to compete, or you want to persecute, or you want to be perfect, or you want to be superior or play inferior. When your gremlin is in your driving seat of your life, the only intimacy you can have is gremlin intimacy. So some people use the primary relationship as a gremlin feeding ground, where they can have unlimited source of food for their gremlin. And so one of the example is, for example, the fight and fuck type relationship. You know, let's fight and let's make up by having sex, you know, which is fucking. Both are gremlin. And people think this is a relationship, or this is what's possible in a relationship. So much more is possible. So you can do this experiment, and it's a commitment more than an experiment. It's a commitment saying, my primary relationship is an unconscious free gremlin zone. No gremlin is allowed. No feeding gremlin. I feed my gremlin somewhere else. Okay? Because your gremlin does need to be fed, but not in the primary relationship. Maybe not with your children. You know, like the family zone is an unconscious gremlin free space.
May I ask a personal question?
Yes.
I mean, this rule setting this decision that my family is a gremlin-free space. It does sound to me like a very tall order. How do you manage to maintain it gremlin-free?
Yeah, I have my gremlin sit on my left side, and I use my gremlin for other purposes. Because, and this is where I was sort of starting to go, is your gremlin right now is, or before it is initiated, your gremlin is uninitiated, and it feeds on low drama, and it serves unconscious purposes. Actually, your gremlin can never stop serving unconscious purposes. That's his job. It will serve your hidden purpose for the rest of your life. And this is going to be a pretty long answer, Amelia, but trying to kill your gremlin, trying to tame your gremlin, trying to control it, put it in a cage, put it away, it's just like a denying. It's just denying. So in possibility management, the offer is we're not in the business of taming gremlins or controlling gremlins or killing gremlins. We need our gremlin. We need our gremlin for our destiny. We need our gremlin for archetypal and extraordinary love, because an initiated gremlin is an unlimited source of nonlinear possibility, and it can do anything that your box is your survival strategy, cannot do. Your box, which they go in pairs, the box and the gremlin go in pairs. When the gremlin is uninitiated, the job of the gremlin is to protect the status quo of the box and destroy any space at any time for no reason. Any space of intimacy, connection, relationship, authenticity, honesty, your gremlin will destroy that space so that your box stays the same. So that your world doesn't change. So you don't change and you don't transform and you don't evolve. That's the job of the gremlin. And you needed a gremlin to do this job until you were 18 years old. You needed your gremlin. So you can be very grateful for that part who helped you survive. Until you were 18 years old, where you were ready, you had enough matrix and mass and substance in you to change the purpose of your box and change the purpose of your gremlin, which is to shift them from a purpose of defensiveness and survival. Like, I want to survive. I need to survive. I need it to be like this, otherwise I'll die. I need to be small. I need to not show up. I need to not say what I want. I cannot say what I want, otherwise I will die. Okay, this is the survival purpose. And when you're 18 years old, you're ready to move your box and your gremlin to an expansive purpose, where your box becomes one of your tools for evolution. Because when you notice that you are at the edge of your box, you feel glad. Great, I'm in new territory. Your box is your living room, is like the comfort zone. Some people call it the comfort zone, or your belief system, or your worldviews, or getting at the edge of your worldview is uncomfortable. You will start feeling something, most probably fear. This is also why we start feelings work in possibility management, because if you cannot feel fear, you cannot go at the edge of your box, and your gremlin will destroy the possibility for you to go at this edge. It will kill a connection. It will make you late. It will have you have online problems, like Wi-Fi problems. Your gremlin can do that. I can assure you, it's very smart, so that you cannot make it to this call. So there was about like twice as many people who registered for this gremlin Q&A. Okay, where are those people? What happened to them? You know, if I asked them, they will all have an amazing story about, my grandfather died. My grandfather was sick. I I didn't wake up, I didn't put my alarm on, or my mother needed me. You know, that's a great excuse. My mother needed me. So whatever the story, it doesn't matter. It's just their gremlin making up shit so that they wouldn't be like come into a space where there would be clarity enough for them to distinguish between them and their gremlin, and then do the job of initiating their gremlin to say, sit at my left side, and you are not in charge. I'm in charge. My being is in charge. My birth principles are in charge. My archetypal lineage is in charge. You're not in charge. Okay, the manipulation game, the perfectionist, the competition, the revenge, the resentment, it's been long enough. You can say that. It has been freaking long enough. I want something else in my life. I want creation. I want love. I want clarity. I want possibility. I want evolution. I want high-level fun. I want joy of life. I want adventures. I want exploration. Okay, and your gremlin, it cannot, that's not the purpose that it serves. Your gremlin does not serve this purpose. And it can be a tool. It can be a resource more. Your gremlin can be a resource for you to live those things in your life. Because you will get to the edge of your box. You know, if you want evolution in your life, you will have to get to the edge of your box, to your comfort zone, to what you don't know, even worse, to what you don't know that you don't know. This is the most horrible thing for somebody in survival, to realize that they didn't know something. You get to the edge of your box, and your box will tell you, go back, you know, come back in. We don't want to see this. This is not safe. I'm going to die, which is true. The box is going to die. If you go beyond the edge of the box is going to die. Okay, so the box has this, no way, we're feeling fear. Let's get out of here. Okay, and your gremlins say, hey, I think this is going to be fun. You know, I don't want to be in survival anymore, or I think we can do this. And you tell your gremlin, okay, take me to this conference. You tell your gremlin, okay, talk to these people. Your box cannot talk to like a leader of a conference, or a lot of people cannot, their box cannot talk to Clinton Callahan. Okay, but your gremlin can talk to Clinton Callahan. So you tell your gremlin, okay, you have to call him up. I need something. Just call him up. And then your gremlin, you give him that job to call Clinton, but then who's speaking is you. Your gremlin's resource was just to pick up the phone and dial the phone number and just say, we're gonna do this. Okay. So you can give.
I have a question.
Yeah, I just want to finish. You can give, and this is sort of phase 2 of gremlin work. Phase 1 is know your gremlin, own your gremlin, which would start with finding its name. Finding its name and finding its food. Okay, the food you can do in the privacy of your own home. Its name, you have to do it with a possibility manager or somebody who's been initiated already, who has an initiated gremlin. Okay, that's phase 1. Be where you are. Phase 2 is let's give him other jobs. So I just want to answer your question, Emilia, is I give my gremlin a lot of other jobs than low drama. I give him high drama food. For example, organizing a gremlin Q&A on a Sunday morning for no reason. Like, why would I do that when I'm going to have like 15 gremlin attacking me saying, it's not like this. I'm a victim. I'm right. I don't want to change, you know? Okay, but I needed my gremlin to do this. I also need my gremlin to make outrageous offers of, you know what? Let's go to Greece for 6 weeks. Let's get a very expensive villa in Greece for 6 weeks for no reason. Okay, my box is freaking out because I don't deserve to have a holiday in Greece. You know, it's too expensive. Like, who am I to take time off when there's refugees coming, you know, by boat in Greece, or whatever the thing is? That's my box. My gremlin says, let's do it. Okay, and on and on and on. There's so much that your gremlin is a resource, a source of nonlinear possibility, and making offers that your box cannot make. To have an alive relationship, to have a relationship with a partner, but also with basically anybody on the street, you need your gremlin at your side. Because the box would want to have the routine. We know how we have our coffee in the morning, and then we have sex twice a week on Thursday and Sunday, and then we go on anniversary always at the same restaurant. Okay, that's the box. There's nothing wrong with the box, but it's kind of dead. You need your gremlin to make your relationship alive. So this is how I keep low drama out of my primary relationship. Yeah.
It's not obvious to me how is it your gremlin and not you doing the outrageous proposals or initiating this. How do you make the distinction between you and your gremlin when you go for this kind of initiatives like organizing this?
Yeah, thank you for the question about how do you distinguish between you and your gremlin? And it doesn't start with distinguishing between you and your gremlin when making outrageous offers. It starts a few steps before that, distinguishing my gremlin wants to be a victim. My gremlin, oh, this is a good one. So, because if your gremlin can prove that it has been a victim, what does it have license to do? If you can prove that you've been a victim, then what? You can check in yourself. Yeah, Anna?
Then you can have a juicy revenge.
Yes! Oh, this is amazing.
Delicious.
Delicious.
And long.
You can even plot. You can plot the revenge for years, decades. Okay, this is what your gremlin gets to do. If it can prove it has been a victim, then it can turn around and say, you did this to me. You can wait and see what I can do to you. Wait and see what I can do to you. Okay. And you will feel it in you. Okay. It actually never really goes away. It never goes away. But you can have a choice about, am I going to let that part run my life? So you could do experiments like this about when you catch yourself being a victim, then notice, what is the revenge plan? You can do this experiment, write it down. What is the revenge plan? I'm going to do this. I'm going to stop talking to them. I'm going to gossip to them, to this person, so that they will stop talking to them. I will eat all their food in the fridge. If you're living with a roommate, like, I don't know what kind of revenge plan you make up. Okay, but be aware of that. And it's an experiential distinction. It is an experiential distinction, okay? So it has a particular energy. Can anybody describe, for those who've had this experiential distinction, what does it feel like when this gremlin wants to come up?
Yes. So when my gremlin, it's definitely the sense of controlling something. So the sensation is much more the flight and fight mode of about fighting for me, yeah, and is tight, and it's adrenaline, definitely adrenaline in my blood. So I'm high sensitive and active and ready to just So really sensitive in what is coming and filtering, so almost a high sensitive sensor in my physical senses as well, and also in my energetic sense. And it's a lot of anticipation as well.
And I would like to add, it is very clever. It's high intelligence.
Yeah, so often also many different possibilities at the same time, like scanning.
Many layers. Yeah. I think it's very charged with fear, and this is a very strong energy. Hence, feels almost as if I was being a gremlin invincible. It's a bit of a high, it's a bit of a hunter, a bit of a warrior. It's very exciting. I do enjoy it sometimes.
It is so exciting. I think there's a title of a part of the book, Rage and Joy Brilliant Love, it says, low drama is ecstasy. You get so much ecstasy from low drama, but it's a form of false ecstasy. But it's like, this is happening. What are they saying about me? What can I say about them? And this, it's this monster. You have this monster inside of you.
Yes.
And it's thrive on this adrenaline, excitement. Yeah, Anna.
And there is also, in my experience, another one. There is this thing about being totally untouchable. So of not showing actually any excitement or big adrenaline. Is more like getting so unbelievable cold and sharp. And this thing about you will never get me. So whatever you do.
How many people have that kind of gremlin, this you'll never get me, when it comes up? Yeah. So every gremlin has a particular strategy. Okay, every gremlin is very unique. So this like excitement and this you will never get me, but there's also some gremlin who feed on being victims. Their whole life is about how am I a victim in my life? And this is also adrenaline, and this is also a form of ecstasy. So there's a way, the procedure to get a grip on your gremlin, because this is not about taming or killing or controlling, is about having a grip on it, meaning distinguishing between you and your gremlin, and committing or deciding that I am the boss. I am in charge of my life and you are not. This is what I mean by having a grip on. Is to make a list of 50 of its food. And don't stop before you have 50 of what it likes to eat. From, gossiping, controlling, and say, how do you control? The feminine way of controlling is making a little suggestion with no way out. Oh, you could do it like this, but if you don't do it like this, you're dead. Okay, this is a very feminine touch of gremlin control. Competition. I want to be better than them, or I want to be worse than them. Some people thrive on being failures. Some people's gremlin thrive on being failures. So, okay, some people thrive on being failures so that they can prove to the world that their parents were bad parents. Can you imagine dedicating your life to prove that your parents were horrible parents? I can assure you, I've met more than one person that was their life dedication until they became aware of it. So their gremlin was running their life. So any kind of making expectation on others is gremlin food. Having assumption about how people should behave, or what they should say, or what they shouldn't say, or how they should close the door, or put their shoes on the shoe shelf, or bring you flowers for your birthday, or wish you happy birthday. All of those are assumption turn into expectation that when they're broken, you can have justified resentment. They betrayed me. Okay, you can only be betrayed if you had an expectation in the first place. Who made the expectation? What was the purpose? Probably to have resentment. Okay, this is how evil we are. I'm going to make an expectation on somebody so that I'm sure they're going to break it, and so I can have resentment and feel betrayed. Instead of being in relationship. how, yeah, and it's not bad. It's just evil. It's just manipulative and controlling. Also, like making and leaving messes, little messes here and there, like not doing the dishes, leaving a little dirt in the house, not keeping commitments, making a promise and breaking the promise. Okay, all of those are messes that then your life is just is full of little messes, and it doesn't have enough clarity for your bright principles to come through, which is a purpose of the gremlin. If you have a messy life, then there's no space for evolution, because you have to handle all those little messes. Having debts is a mess, because then a lot of your attention and energy is taken upon, what am I going to do with my debt? How am I going to pay it back? I need to have a job. Okay, I need to have a job that pays enough, even if I hate this job. Or like this whole thing, your whole life is consumed by paying back the debt, instead of for what you really want it for. Or having little like wars, little conflict with people in your team or in your family or in your group of friends, and then you rehearse the conversation in your head before you're going to talk to them. Anybody knows what I'm talking about? Rehearsing conversation. Okay. You wake up in the morning, and then the first thing, I mean, it happens to me, so I know what I'm talking about. You wake up in the morning, and the first thing it does is like, but she said this, but if I said that when she said this, then I could have been right, and I could have, and then she would see it that she could have seen that I'm right, and then I'd be right. Yes, next time I'll do that, you know. And this is how, you know, some of us wake up in the morning. So we wake up and we count our enemies. Our gremlin counts our enemies. Who am I gonna try to be right over, you know, have power over today? And we don't know, you know, and it's sort of a way, when our gremlin has been holding our life, like driving our life for so long, we don't know who we are without this part. Who am I when I wake up and I don't count my enemies? Who am I if I'm not trying to control every movement of my partner? Who am I if I'm not a victim of my life? That would mean I'm responsible for the way things are. That means I could change it. That means there's nobody else to blame than, you know, my choices. Okay, that is scary. That is radical responsibility. And responsibility is the procedure for change. There's no way out of low drama without taking responsibility for where you are in the low drama and how you're feeding it, or how your gremlin, or when I say you, is your gremlin. What is the favorite position of your gremlin on the low drama? And what is its favorite techniques to get that kind of food? Okay. When you're there,
Can I give an example of a situation where, I don't know, I think I kind of created the containment for my gremlin, and it kind of, I think it might, contradict this principle of not allowing the gremlin in the personal life. It somehow allowed it, but somehow didn't allow it. It's like, for example, me and my partner, we prepare to go out and do some sports, like run or go to the gym or whatever. So, and he has a bit more, he's more used with doing this, but I'm more lazy in this regard. And so, and also, you know, I just come up with all kinds of, oh, but the weather is so bad and so nasty, I don't want to get out of the house, and so on. So,
Emilia, can you say my gremlin says, I don't want to get out?
Yeah, exactly. It's my gremlin that says, I don't want to get out, I don't feel like doing it, whatever. But in some way I'm conscious that it's my gremlin, so basically I'm telling my partner, please let me bitch about it, and then we will go and do it anyway. So
Yeah.
it's like a containment for my gremlin, where he just watches me and listens to my gremlin, but he knows that we will be doing it anyway. It doesn't really impact what we will be doing or not.
So I want to say something about that, which is I've been thinking about it more lately, about what does it mean to be conscious? What does it mean to be conscious that our gremlin is running our life? And one level, which I don't consider that conscious, is saying, my gremlin is saying this, or my gremlin is doing this. Okay, and that in the beginning could come from a intellectual distinction. It comes from an intellectual distinction. You got that your gremlin likes to persecute, or likes to play the victim, or likes to be rescuer. If you don't feel like the pain, which means probably the sadness, but it could also be anger or fear or sad. If you don't feel the pain of what that does in that space, then you're not really conscious. Okay, if you're saying, oh, I'm having an emotion, but I still want to, barf it on you. I still want to play it out with you, and I don't feel the consequences of doing that in a relationship, then you're not really conscious. You're not making a conscious choice saying, I'm gonna spend those 10, 15, 30 minutes, maybe an hour, maybe a day of that I could have with my partner, that could be an authentic, sharing, honest, connected, evolutionary space, and I'm going to use it complaining, competing, having resentment. If you don't feel the pain of those seconds that are lost, you will never get those seconds back. You'll never get those minutes back. You'll never get those days back ever. Ever, ever, ever. If you cannot
I don't know. Agree.
Pause a minute. If you cannot feel the pain of having lost those minutes to that, then it is not a conscious choice. And Emilia, there's other people. I would like to hear other people. So my proposal is that there's people who will share, and just let them in and let the new distinction kind of go in and see what they do. Because when you speak over me, then there's a way that you're saying, I don't want to hear this. You're blocking from actually being into your 5 bodies.
Now you're attaching a story to my interventions.
That's what it seems like to me.
It does seem, because it's not.
Okay, thank you. Natalia.
So, I thought I have a question. That's where I think about it. I think I just want to share something. And it feels dangerous to me to share it. I feel fear about that. A couple of weeks ago, I realized that I've been feeding my gremlin with possibility management as an idea, as a movement. And I also feel a lot of anger about that, because I did not realize that myself. And the way I was doing that is to give my center away to the possibility management and kind of feeding my gremlin, and giving that responsibility to everything that we are doing. Like being authentic in the processes, the workshop and so on, but having it running my life, basically, like taking over and leaving me not being responsible anymore. And I don't know if that's already, if it's getting my message across, but I think it was just serving the shadow principle of, again, not taking responsibility and having things being planned out for me in some way. And what was very shocking for me is that this is way more trickier because it's possibility management. Yeah, it's a great thing. Like I've been having great moments. I want to develop more. Like I'm all in, and it's way more trickier to realize than as if was, I don't know, a couple of years ago when I was like heavy partying, you know, like being, yeah, having the party ecstasy basically. And then it was easier for me to spot it because that was so obvious. Yeah? And here it was so tricky, you know, like possibility manager, oh really? Like, am I really doing the exact same thing? And I realized a couple of weeks ago that's exactly what happened. And yeah, and I didn't even notice, like someone told me that I behave in the same way as a couple of years ago, but it's just way more trickier to realize because it's very not obvious and it's so good for me, right? Like overall. So,
Natalia, do you have a question or I have an experiment for you?
I wanted to have a question, but then I realized I don't think I have one. It's just something that I wanted to bring because it feels, yeah, it just felt dangerous for me. So it's a good space to get up.
Yeah, I want to, can I say something about what you're sharing?
Yeah, sure.
When I started, but also I noticed when a few people started possibility management, exactly what you said happened, where you gave your center away.
Yeah.
So meaning you give your responsibility away, and that is gremlin food. Giving your responsibility away is gremlin food, because then if the thing or the person or like the movement doesn't behave in the way you thought they were, in the way, the image, the fantasy world that you had about them or about it, then you feel betrayed. Okay, feeling betrayed is gremlin food. You're a victim and they are the persecutor. Okay, so let me see. In the beginning, this was happened because people who start possibility management have not been initiated into their gremlin and not being initiated in keeping their center. So this is why the work of possibility management in the beginning probably can be this kind of confusing where you give your center away. However, the work is to keep your center even with possibility management. That means you can question it, saying, hey, actually, what about this distinction? Is that really, is that really working? And that's how possibility management can evolve, that each possibility manager keep their center and keep questioning. Otherwise possibility management wouldn't evolve if we didn't have our center about that.
Yeah,
I just want to say the part that the moment you might have a moment where you'll be there and somebody will there will be a practice from possibility management, and you might have this question, am I doing it because they want me to do it, or am I doing it because I want to do it? Okay, that is such a crucial moment, because then you can start distinguishing between what you want and what you've been doing about what other people want for your whole life before. Okay, this is such a precious moment. So keep that question, am I doing it because I choose, and which I is choosing, or am I doing it because they want me to do it and they say it's good for me? And there's no way, I don't have an answer for you. You will have to find the answer. Am I doing it because
that's why I think I don't have a question.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is keep that question with you, and that's how you're going to start keeping more and more your center. When you have that question, you're bringing your center back to you.
Yeah, cool. Because it was that point when I realized that I'm training, take my authority back, take my center back, I'm doing all of that, but and I put a lot of people there, like my mother, work, whatever that is. But there is one thing I didn't put in that place, and that was possibility management itself. So, but now it's like next level journey.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to share that because that was something tricky.
Yeah, thank you, Natalia.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, Uli, and then Magdalena.
Yeah, hi.
Hi.
I have a question. So if I understood correctly, that's a good example from Natalia. So the gremlin food is like kind of low drama, but the gremlin is able to convert everything into a low drama in order to get fed, right? So is this why? Because for me, when I read it, let's say I found it very interesting. What I found a little bit strange is that you should feed your gremlin. This was something in the first moment I said, like, why should I do it? Yeah. But is this maybe the reason that then you're really, let's say, more free to act on other things? Because if not, then you can do whatever you want. He or she, the gremlin, will convert it into a low drama in order to get fed.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. If you don't feed him consciously, it will feed himself unconsciously. It has to have food. And in the beginning, the practice is, when you do this list of 50 food, I think I mentioned that, you do this list of 50 food, and then you pick 5 of those foods that you're willing to sacrifice. Like you're willing to feed your gremlin those foods, even it will cost you, it will cost you a moment of aliveness, okay? So and then you say to your gremlin, I'm going to feed you those 5 food 1 time a week. One day a week, I'll feed you as much as you want of those 5 foods. Okay, so for example, it can be, I recommend foods that are not destroying your relationship. I recommend food where you're not playing victim, persecutor, rescuer. For example, eating chocolate, like as much chocolate as your gremlin wants until he even is sick, okay? Or watching movies, or being lazy all day, or whatever 5 food that you can feed that will not be too costly for your life. And then when you start feeding him like that once a week, you will go into withdrawal. Okay? You will go cold turkey. It will really feel like you're taking away a drug from yourself. Okay? And you'll have moments where it's like, you don't know what's really happening, but it's your gremlin wanting to be fed, and you say, you'll be fed Saturday. And the more you feed him regularly, then you can start having this trusting relationship where he trusts you that you will feed him. And then he can relax. He sort of can relax in in the rest of your time. And then when you start doing that, you will also notice that you can give him jobs that your box cannot do. So that I was talking about about nonlinear possibility, that is also food. Okay, so when it's uninitiated, low drama, it's his major food. But when you start initiating your gremlin, you can feed him high drama food, which would be about creating your destiny and creating an extraordinary and archetypal relationship by going nonlinear and doing the things that your box cannot do. I just want to give two examples of high drama food that I recommend when you've done those list of 50, and then you find 5 food, and then you start putting him on a diet. That's how we call it, putting him on a diet. Then 2 types of high drama food is, 1, you give him the job to look out for other gremlins, and he will love that job. He will love that job. So he's always on alert saying, okay, this guy is going to try to persecute you. This guy is having expectation on you. This woman is trying to compete with you. Okay. And then he gives you the information. You get to decide what you do about it. But that will be a huge food for him, and he will love doing that job. And the other job is, give him the job to catch himself. Okay. It is not the job of your partner to catch your gremlin. I would not recommend that as intimacy. It could happen, but this is not the main job. So you can give your gremlin saying, there's nobody as smart, as clever, as fast as you to catch yourself. So catch yourself before you're about to do it. And he will also love this job, and he'll be like, see, I did it. I was faster than myself. This is amazing. Cool. Really. And you'll say, hey, thank you so much. So now I have a choice. Okay, let's not do this. Let's do this instead. Okay, don't try to compete this with this woman, but how can you create let's try to create possibility for her. instead of getting into the competition job, like game, you say, thank you for telling me that she wants to compete with me. Let's now go there. How can I empower her? Okay, totally different game, high drama. And then when so that was another question that was somebody sent to me, and also Emilia had, was when a gremlin comes at you, what do you do? Because when a gremlin comes at you and trying to hook you into low drama, it's your gremlin that gets hooked, okay? It's not you. So gremlins play with gremlins, and then being plays with being, and archetypal lineage play with archetypal lineage. It's sort of like that. So gremlin, it's your gremlin who can see other gremlin, and it's your gremlin who can have the tools to not be hooked by other gremlin. So that's another job that is it's like so nonlinear and fun, to find ways to not get hooked by other gremlin. So there's a whole list in the website called Become Unhookable, and almost every one of them, you can have your gremlin, you can pick like 5 ways. There's 100 ways. You can pick 5 ways and say, okay, this week we're practicing those ways of being unhookable. And with your gremlin, it's a partnership. It's like you building a collaboration. Mm-hmm. And it could be something. So, for example, changing the game. Okay, she wants to compete with me. Okay, let's find ways where I can empower her. Okay, that's one way. It could also be when gremlins come at you, and for example, the person across don't know the distinction gremlin. So I don't recommend to go around and say, this is your gremlin, because it's probably your gremlin saying that. Because then I'm right, and this is what's happening for you, This is probably your gremlin speaking. So you will have to find more elegant ways to convert, or like to put on the table or handle or face into other people's gremlin without using the distinction gremlin, unless they're really ready for it, unless they come into a workshop or come into a training, or there's a door for you to learn that distinction. But really, if like another ways of facing into gremlin is a simple question that says, when you said that, what is your purpose? What are you trying to create with me when you say, you didn't do the dishes? What is it really that you want to say? Oh, what are you trying to create with me? Okay, and it will stop. The thing is, when a gremlin comes at you, and if your gremlin fights, this is what you get. You get gremlin war and gremlin feeding frenzy. Okay, but if a gremlin comes and your gremlin is relaxed, your gremlin doesn't get hooked, then the other person's gremlin just goes in crash. Okay, let them crash. Don't rescue them. Let them crash. It will be a wake-up call for them about what they're trying to create with you. Great. You can start somewhere else. So when you feel this fight, one other thing that you can do is, you're doing like this, and you say, what can I do for you? It seems like you want something. What can I do for you? Okay, so instead of fighting, you stand next to them. You look in their direction. What is it that they're looking that is so important to them? Okay, you might, if it's revenge, you might say, I cannot help you with that, but we can create something else. What about this? Okay, you're standing next to them. You're not trying to say revenge is bad. Okay, that's gremlin. It's trying to make somebody bad or wrong. So it makes, when I think about it, it makes life so fun. It makes life so fun. Because then you're in this thing of, what can I do for you? What would it be like if your life, you go around and says, what can I do for you? And it's not about rescuing, because if you're asking, then you're not rescuing, you're just asking. They might say something, they might say no. Sorry, Magdalena, you wanted to say something a while ago.
Thank you. Actually, the kind of talk you just gave kind of changed my question in the meantime and answered some of my open ends. I wanted to mention a situation that happened to me recently where I was, I think, kind of on a conscious level allowing Gremlin to feed. Now I understand, because I had this time when I was kind of making a very right change for myself, yet changes are scary. So there was a bit of, I would say, work from my side and a bit of effort, and I was a bit kind of tired. And this Friday came and everything worked out in terms of my change. I was very happy about it. And this Friday came and I was alone at home. And I started to hear this narrative, even though all these great things happened to you, you are still alone on a Friday night. And I was like, I saw it clearly as a kind of narrative that is a bit artificial. So this is sometimes how I recognize the Gremlin thing, that it has a fake note to it in a way. And I just felt like I just allowed it, and I was drinking wine and I was kind of quite consciously going into a miserable direction, but it was still weirdly conscious. And at times I was laughing at myself. Like, that was a strange thing. And now I think after I heard you talking, I realized that this was not entirely planned and a bit surprising appearance of Gremlin, where I thought, okay, let's feed you. I kind of allowed it, and it was not taking me over completely. I was not, I don't know, singing a sad song, being fully in it. I was maybe humming this song, but also laughing at myself a little bit, hearing or seeing myself in this situation. So I kind of answered a bit to myself, and I'm curious if you have any comment on it, but I went to another kind of question mark. So I think even when I was talking about the kind of fighter Gremlin, the one who is so invincible and strong, I kind of sometimes literally say go when I'm scared, and when I'm on the edge of the box, something happens, I am like, now it's time for you. So I kind of channel this, I think sometimes in a good way, but on the other hand, very often I think still my consciousness is not enough to see the little hook and to be aware of what is going on. So I'm just wondering what one can do if one is not ready to, let's say, feed the Gremlin at that time. Because this Friday I'm describing, I just thought, okay, it came, it's kind of strong, I will let it feed. But what if I really didn't want it to take over this evening for that time? What can be done?
What it seems to me is it's harder to say stop, like don't do it. It's harder to say that to the Gremlin than saying let's do this instead. Because the stop and the no is still this, you're bad, or I don't want you, or whatever. And say, okay, you're a Friday night, you're alone. Okay, you can even write an article while you're in that state of in between, God, I can feel my Gremlin, it's wanting to be fed, I'm drinking wine, I have those. Okay, write an article while you're in that state. Okay, and then you turn this into a high drama situation. Or it could be, call somebody and say, please give me possibility. This is where I am, please give me possibility right now.
You can call me.
Yeah, because the Gremlin will make you believe that you're alone on a Friday night. It will make you believe. Yeah. Okay. So this is great to have a couple, like you say, I have 3 experiments that I try when this Gremlin states try to come up. One can be, I write an article, or I can write a song, or maybe even make a little movie. Or, I'm calling somebody, I'm calling a possibility manager saying, this is happening to me, talk to me. Or do you have possibilities? Or, one thing that you could do is you go out in the street You go out in the street and with your gremlin at your side, and you scan how much gremlin activity is happening. And you also scan about, people who are drinking at bars, their gremlin is up. Alcohol makes your gremlin come up, takes over. Okay. And notice also how their being in some ways could be connected. Okay, those two people are really enjoying each other's company, and there's a part gremlin, but there's not a part that's not gremlin. Okay, so you awake your gremlin about this is then you train him to scan for gremlin. Okay, you have your being there also saying, okay, and this is something else. Okay, so then you're also building this distinction inside of you between your being and your gremlin. So you can use those states to just build more matrix in you. Yeah, thank you for your question. I wanna sort of ask a question to Anna and for you to speak a little bit, because Anna has been working a lot in the past year about this distinction or this state of gremlin enmeshment. How when the gremlin state is enmeshed with the adult ego state. And what does it look like? And yeah, can you just kind of talk about your research and what you've discovered about it?
Yes.
Thank you.
So the gremlin enmeshment is happening in a really camouflage way. So the adult state is getting contaminated by this gremlin, and the gremlin is like it takes over the adult state. So it's completely invisible for me when my gremlin is enmeshed with my adult state, because everything that I see, that I hear, that I understand, each question that I ask.
Anna, I think Nona needs
the word enmeshment, I don't know what it means.
In German?
Kontamination, es ist, dein Gremlin ist kontaminiert, dein Erwachsenenteil.
Okay.
So in that moment, it's like to have, it's like this face, looks like an adult, speaks like an adult, and is really good to make this performance as an adult. And the exploration is about to start to remove this gremlin state energetically from the adult state, to start to feel first how it is to not have this filter, to not have this contamination in the adult state. And it's a completely revelation, because this is the biggest job of my gremlin, is to sniff gremlin contamination. And it's so much often that I thought it will be, and I'm in a state of, I feel really sad about it. And it makes just so a big difference. And when I got my gremlin enmeshment, because I exploring this, because I have this, it was almost like really see the world for the first time. The colors were different. I was talking differently, asking different questions. So, and in my research, it's a lot about this attitude, you will never get me thing. So I put a mask, I function, and I will perform my life as an adult, and it's a fake. And it's devastating to experience that. And it's wonderful to be to make the distinction, to remove it, and to really let my heart, my being be touched by the world, and and connect. So it's like to be born again.
Thank you. I just want to add one thing, Nona, before that this, when we were talking about gremlin enmeshment, so the gremlin adult, the gremlin ego state, sorry, contaminates the adult ego state is a survival strategy. Is a survival strategy that you've decided probably very young that to survive, you had to have your gremlin in charge of your whole life. You made a deal with your gremlin, or it's sort of a saying you're in charge. The whole thing, you're in charge. And so the enmeshment can be like 10, like can be, I think it's like 50, 60, 70, 80%. Yeah. So when you're trying to be adult, when you're trying to have a like authentic, clear communication with another human being, 80% of that conversation is gremlin. But it often happens when, like Anna said, it's like very subtle, and it's covered in the mask of adult, but there's that only 20% adult, but underneath it's all gremlin. And so, and what Anna was sharing is her gremlin is, I can talk to you, but you will never get me. And that was the whole conversation, what was really happening. Okay. Just Nona first, and then Taya.
Yeah, this really gets me, because this is exactly how my gremlin works. And I would like to ask you how you got the distinction, Anna, how you worked with it to be able not to put those masks and another mask and another mask.
How I got the distinction is because I had the possibility to be with Clinton in a training where he created a space for me to really feel into that and realize it and see it by myself. And the first step for me was to feel the pain, what it is in like the biggest, in the biggest size. And this is what I also offering is to for me it was really important to feel the pain before everything else happened of this realization. And then there are the first step, I don't know if we want to go, they are really specific, Anne-Chloé, but I could also offer you to have just a conversation with you where we can go in this specific what to do with this.
Yeah, so there's a number of you who have adult ego state contaminated with your gremlin.
Yeah.
So I would propose, Anna, would you have a whole other session about it, because it takes kind of some context in like maybe 45 minutes to an hour to really get the process.
Yeah.
So Anna, would you put your email address in the chat, and then whoever wants to start this process with Anna, just write to her, and then Anna, you can organize maybe a session with more than one person.
Yeah.
Great. It is one of the most like maybe difficult survival strategy to decide to choose to make up, because then you have only 20% adult that wants the gremlin out, and the rest doesn't have enough choice. There's very little choice to keep saying, I'm going to do this work. I'm going to do the practice of decontaminating my ego state.
Yeah.
And it takes a couple years. It takes a couple years to do the entire work. Okay, so it takes really level of commitment. Cool. Yeah, thank you, Anna. And thank you, Nona.
Yeah.
Natalia. And then Tara.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank you, Anna, for sharing that, because it feels that my first sharing was kind of about that. Though I did not had the exact wording for that, but it just makes a lot of sense. So I will be contacting you, and thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
Sorry, I have to ask more details about this. You will never get me.
Emilia, would you just pause for a second because Tara had her hand up before.
Okay.
Thank you.
So I don't really know the whole question yet. I think I'm still on the way to figure it out. But when I had the Expand the Box seminar, and we put out the pictures of our gremlins that we drew, and we had I had a conversation with a few people, and then also with Clinton. And at some point at the end of the Expand the Box, he told me, "Don't fall in love with your gremlin." And I have a I'm trying to figure something out, which is that I think that one of the things that my gremlin does is that it wants everyone to be in love with him or her very much. And I'm not sure if I have yet really found him or her. But what I found was loaded up, completely fed up with sexuality. It was full of it. And it's really hard for me to figure out other things about my gremlin than what he or she does in the whole realm or place of sex and sexuality, because it's so full of that. And I find it really hard also to distinguish between what in this space is my gremlin and what is the big revenge plan that I've been plotting on for years, and what is me in that. And it is so hard for me to find my own space in this. Yeah, because I feel like my gremlin has taken over this whole part, and it is very It's funny that my Wi-Fi also didn't work in the moment that you were talking about the White Widow thing. It completely stopped and I couldn't listen anymore.
Tara, would you let those feelings get bigger? Okay, you sort of holding up the feelings a little bit and just, they're big.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go.
Yeah, go, Tara.
Yeah.
And it makes me really, really sad because it feels like I lost this whole part of me and I don't know. And I can't seem to take it back because it is so fed up with wanting to revenge myself and wanting to manipulate people and just taking something that, because I'm actually longing for intimacy and for a nice, like something that fills me up, but I'm always using it to be the one stronger and to be the one in power, and I can't even, I'm always manipulating, and I find it really, really hard to find myself in that, because she or he has been taken over, and all I'm trying to figure out the whole time about my gremlin is what is going on there, and I can't seem to figure it out. And it gives me no space to see anything else because it seems like this is so important, and I want to find other things out about this, but it's like this is so upfront that I can't find a way around it.
Thank you, Tara.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Would you talk to Anna? Because it seems like your gremlin ego state is enmeshed in your adult ego state, and you've made that decision a long time ago to survive. Okay, and Anna has a very clear process. Okay, right now you've been, for the past year, you've been trying to have this distinction gremlin, and it comes up anytime, and then there's no space for you, and also you didn't have the clear process. So if you do this with Anna, then you'll have a clear process and a clearer way out. Starting to make space for your being. That's really small and somewhere inside hidden right now. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Emilia, I saw you have a raised hand, and we have about 5 minutes, and I would like to give some space for people who didn't say anything yet, or if you have a question, just sort of take a deep breath and just check inside of you. No, I see you, and I just want to give just a few more minutes or seconds. Okay. I just want to say that there's a lot more. Gremlin is a field of research. There's a lot more that I would want to have wished I could talk about. For example, the White Widow and other survival strategy that the gremlin has, and also how the gremlin can be used for high drama. There's so many practices and so many ways. So keep researching, okay? Keep reading the books, keep reading the website. You can also bring that in your possibility team. How can I start practicing something different with my gremlin? That's such a cool thing to do in a team, because you need the feedback from other people, so they can see your gremlin, you can see theirs, and they can find new possibilities for your gremlin. Okay, so there's a lot more. No, go ahead.
I'm experimenting with feeding my gremlin regularly once a week, and one of my my best gremlin food is sweets. And the part where I go shopping with my gremlin and she buys things, and so we dedicate the Friday evening for feeding, it works very well. And I'm not very sure about how many sweets can I eat during the week? What is really part of being normal and adult, and what is gremlin food during the week? So I have a long story with being with not eating too much, doing diet and so on. So there is a structure that wants to be very rigid and very proud. Then I'm very proud of it and feel superior when I don't eat or when I regulate something in my eating. So it was a very long story for me to come to the point where I'm really in peace with myself and with my eating, or where I love myself even though I eat chocolate. And I feel it's difficult to say no chocolate at all, no sweets at all, only Friday evening. So do you have an idea for this?
So I was an anorexic, and it's sort of like being an alcoholic. I would say I am an anorexic. It never really goes away. It's part of my survival strategy. So when I picked my gremlin food, I didn't necessarily pick food like physical food, because it's too enmeshed in the gremlin. to say no to physical food, then there's this part that actually feeds the gremlin. I'm in control, you know, and that's I'm in control.
Yeah.
So I would propose that you pick other kind of foods, and you could have a Friday night where it's more chocolate, for example, and I would just pick other kind of food. Yeah. And I, you know, I didn't do so much research about that, but I think it's worth researching about how to get out of this anorexia or bulimia or any kind of food related control, and how is that related to the gremlin, and what could be the steps. So I think it would be worth a research team about that, because it's also very linked with the patriarchy and modern culture, and how women should look like, and how they're supposed to be beautiful, and so there's a lot in there, I think.
Thank you, Mama. I just wanted to say thank you for this up, because I have also a long story of eating disorders, and it's present and it will be present. Like it's a part. So, thank you for bringing this distinction as well.
Okay, I would like everybody to just take a deep breath and look into the screen and look at those people you've been on this journey with. This is the edge of modern culture. You've been to the edge of yourself. We've been to the edge of ourselves and of the culture. And okay, this is your team. Okay. I will send an email around so you get everybody's contact, and I'll send out the website that I mentioned that opens this door to 350 website, part of the startover.xyz. So if ever you need to read something, you can go on those website, and you get 50 tabs open, and it's really fun to travel into the game. Yeah, getting lost in it. Just get lost in it. Okay, and yeah, thank you very much for your time and attention. And if something is needed, I'm available, but I think also everybody else here is available. So yeah, stay in touch.
Thank you for holding that space.
Thank you.
Thank you, Anne-Chloé.
Good day. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Stay, Anne-Chloé.
Oh yes, I'm staying. I'm staying. Oh my God, I was gonna let me pause my